Welcome to the Online Great Books podcast, brought to you by OnlineGreatBooks.com, where we talk about the good life, the great books, great conversation, and great ideas.
Welcome back to the Online Great Books podcast. This is Brett. I'm the producer, and today is part one in Scott and Karl's discussion of Larry Correia's 2009 book, Monster Hunter International. It's fiction. We'll see. But this is actually the first book in what is about to be a 10-book series. The 10th book is due to come out this year. In this first hour, Scott and Karl will discuss Monster Hunter International. Then next week, they'll discuss the other 7 books, which they are reading right now. Just kidding. Next week's show will be a continuation of the exploration of Monster Hunter International. Book 1 in a series, but you can go to Goodreads or wherever and look at the whole collection. This one, I'm just going to read you the first line of the description. 5 days after Owen Zastava Pitt pushed his insufferable boss out a 14th-story window, he woke up in a hospital with a scarred face, an unbelievable memory, and a job offer. So I'll turn it over to the guys. Thank you for listening. And be sure to check back next week for the concluding part of this discussion.
I'm Scott Hambrick.
I'm Karl Shute.
And today on the Online Great Books podcast, we're going to talk about Larry Correia's Monster Hunter International. A cautionary tale, maybe a visionary tale, I'd say akin to Huxley's Brave New World or Orwell's 1984.
Gosh. You know, I just wanted to put in a fun book for you to read because you've been getting clobbered by Kierkegaard.
This is more of the same. What are you talking about?
I think it's Correia. It might be Correia.
It's probably
some
Correia.
kind of Portuguese name, I think. So, Larry, if we're mispronouncing it, I'm sorry.
I read up on him just a little bit. Interesting guy. You know, tactical pistol shooter, competitor kind of guy. Frequent contributor to some, gun forums and stuff in the 90s and 2000s, I guess. I guess he wrote this or some other novel or whatever and just serialized it in on a forum somewhere, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then
self-published.
And then self-published this thing, which is great fun, great book. It's exactly what it's supposed to be, a cautionary tale. Then he was kind of the linchpin behind the whole sick puppies movement to, get rid of all that.
I believe it's sad puppies.
Sad puppies. Yeah. I'm sorry. The sad puppies movement to bring the Hugo Awards, Science Fiction Writers Awards back to some sort of sanity, kind of an offshoot of that whole Gamergate thing. And of course, all those dweebs, think he's a right-wing crazy. He seems like a normal guy to me. Come over sometime, Larry. We'll drink coffee and talk about shit. It'll be great.
Yeah, so he wrote this book, and it's obviously autobiographical, except for the monsters. He was an accountant. He is a great big guy. He does love guns. Probably didn't fight werewolves.
That's what somebody who fought werewolves would say.
That's right. I have read a bunch of his stuff. I read the Grim Noir trilogy, which is, I think it's a trilogy. Trilogies tend to become quadrilogies. It's about magic in the early 1900s, and John Moses Browning's one of the characters, and it's pretty cool, pretty fun. And Son of the Black Sword is straight ahead fantasy. There's no guns at all in it, and he's getting better and better as a writer. He's just good. Can tug on your heartstrings in a completely unbelievable situation.
Yeah, I teared up at one point in the book. Would you like to guess when that was?
Was it when Susan Shackelford got blown up?
Oh, no.
Was it when they all died? Spoiler?
No.
Was it when she said yes, even though he hadn't asked?
No. So let's get into the book enough so I can drop this.
Okay.
This guy is an accountant, and he's working late one night, and his boss calls him in the office and proceeds to try to kill him. The boss, unbeknownst to him or anyone, is a werewolf, and somehow our protagonist, Owen Pitt, he's got a crazy middle name that starts with a Z, Zastava, they call him Z, wrestles this werewolf and just hand-to-hand combat, essentially, and kills him. Tosses him out.
Yeah, let me read the first sentence.
Okay.
I bet you he just wrote this and thought, And the novel came out from there. On one otherwise normal Tuesday evening, I had the chance to live the American dream. I was able to throw my incompetent jackass of a boss from a 14th-story window.
There you go.
You just write that on the blank page, and then the rest of the story just comes to you.
It was a dark and stormy night. This is as good as that. He does die on the operating table or whatever, but they pound him back to life, and he gets approached by this secret organization of monster hunters and gets drafted, essentially. Well, not drafted, but gets invited to join them. And of course, the feds.
Well, there's also the feds.
Yeah, the feds harass him. They harass everybody. They wrote my wife a ticket this morning.
The feds?
Well, the popo, whatever. It's all the man. It's all the man. Yeah, the feds mess with him, and then he becomes privy to all of this fighting of monsters that's been going on behind the scenes, literally since the beginning of time, and becomes embroiled in a plot, I don't know, in an effort to stop what looks like the end of time and the end of the world from coming upon them. There's the cursed one is going to, shut it all down. So when I cried, Karl, is when they're like, okay, they have a meeting. Monster Hunters International has this meeting, and all of the hunters are there except for one team that's tardy. And they said, this is what's going to happen. This guy's going to shut down time. If we lose, everybody dies. It's worse than dying, actually, because all these terrible things are going to happen. And it's when the granddad says, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Old guys have nothing to lose. And when the shit hits the fan, we ought to be first. If you could imagine being invaded on your southern border or something, maybe. Like the old guys ought to be the ones to get out there first. One-legged
Dorcas got out there too.
Yeah. Seems like that's what ought to happen.
Well, that was Song of Roland too. Yeah. So it turns out monsters are real. It's been covered up by the feds.
Of course.
By all the feds. Because, it's better that people don't know that monsters exist. But nevertheless, they do. And occasionally they have encounters and have to be dealt with. And Owen was unfortunate enough to have his boss try to eat him. The action scenes are great fun. He actually gets fired from his accounting job because he had a 357 Magnum at work and he wasn't supposed to,
right.
Even though he had to kill his boss who had been a vampire. And so they fire him anyway. They give him a card saying, thank you for your service, and then they fire him. But it's all real, and it's been covered up, and you have the Monster Suppression Bureau or something? There's a federal agency.
I think it's Monster Control Bureau, yeah.
Monster Control, yeah. But there's freelancers who do it, because if you kill a monster, doesn't this sound like great fun? If you kill a monster that is a threat, because not all of them are a threat, say a vampire, there is a puff bounty. I forget what puff stands for. I'll have to look it up.
I made 0 notes on this.
There it is. Perpetual Unearthly Forces Fund. It's a federal bounty on undesirable unnaturals. So there's big money in it. Teddy Roosevelt apparently set that up, of course. It would have been Theodore Roosevelt who sets up the monster bounty. Was Teddy a monster hunter?
Listen, don't get me started about Teddy. Me and McKay go around and around about that guy. His walk softly, carry a big stick, intervention. He's actually interventionist, boxer, rebellion, gunboat garbage. That guy. Thanks a lot.
So there's money in it, all right? You can be, I'm trying to distract you from Roosevelt. There's money in it, and therefore there are people who do it. And one of the freelance groups is called Monster Hunters International, based out of Alabama, that has teams that go around the world and shoot bad things.
Werewolves, whites,
ghouls,
vampires, all kinds of stuff.
And so while he's got the feds come to see him, because if you got bit by a werewolf, you might turn into one. And so the feds, 2 of them, Myers and Franks, I love Agent Franks. You'll learn more about him in subsequent books, Scott. He shows up again. But they come to see him, and they're just sitting there waiting. We're waiting to see if you turn. and then we're going to shoot you. But if you don't, then we'll let you go, but you can't talk about it.
Gotta forget all about it.
Yeah, if you talk about it, we'll kill you. He gets a visit from Earl Harbinger from Monster Hunter International, drops him a card, and says, if you want a job, call us.
The orcs call him Harbanger.
Harbanger, yes. It's beautiful. Because what they need people with flexible minds. Okay, so most people, you see a monster, and what do? You get eaten, or you panic, or if you are flexible mind enough to say, nope, that really is a vampire, or that really is a werewolf, and manage to beat it, then they want you. And so they have this camp out in Alabama where they'll take you, and it's just like a beginning of a Rocky movie where they're training him, or a beginning of a, one of those 80s action movies.
Uncommon Valor.
Yeah, but it's a love story.
So these people in Larry's world are monster hunters. Well, that means there are monsters. And I don't know what you call this book. Is it science fiction? Is it fantasy? Action? I don't know what you call it. But he manages to write about a world where there are these monsters that isn't terribly fanciful. Like, we all see bad things happen and that are sometimes inexplicable, and he's able to write the story that exposes this world of these sort of hidden monsters that seems like consonant with the world I see. I mean that. I mean, he didn't have to invent an entire new Earth to tell this story. He didn't have to do an entire set of world building to tell this science fiction story or whatever the heck it is. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's the world next door. I mean, bad things happen all the time. It would be actually refreshing if there were monsters.
Absolutely. It would be a delight. In fact, there are.
Yeah, but you can't tell who they are.
Gates. He's getting a divorce. Did you see that? That dude he's married to is leaving him. Yes,
he's getting a divorce from Melinda.
Mel.
And perhaps it is a stock settlement.
Who knows? I was talking to a friend. He's like, he was rejoicing. I was like, oh no, the hive split. You don't get it, man. This is not good. This is not good. The hive is split. No, but so, there is bad stuff that happens in the world. Like, there is a missing persons list, right? Children go missing. Stuff happens. There are novel viruses maybe or whatever. And he writes a story where these monsters are the cause of these evils. Like, it's the problem of evil, right? Like, is it an active, malicious force? Is it the absence of the good? What the heck is it? Well, in Owen Pitt's world, it's baddies. It's otherworldly baddies from another dimension that slip through the fabric of, rifts in the fabric and come over here and eat people and keep them in pits and do bad things. God, that would be good.
Well, not being kept in a pit by vampires.
Right.
See, what the vampires do is they throw a bunch of humans in a pit. One of my favorite characters is, what's her name? Holly.
On the red stage, it's Holly.
She was a student at UNLV and an exotic dancer, of course, to make ends meet. And there was a vampire nest, and she got thrown into the pit. And what they do in the pit is they pull you up and they suck your blood, and then they throw you back down there. And they feed you a little bit, and then they grab you again and suck your blood. But you don't know what the meat is, but you're so hungry that you don't care. The meat is probably the last guy that
the one
died.
That drained a little too much. So that they don't have to go out on the hunt all the time and they can keep a low profile, right? If they can kidnap 8 people and just sort of harvest off of them, for 6 months or whatever, they can lay low. They put them in a shipping container, take them through the port of Houston, take them to a pizza restaurant. I don't know.
If you were a vampire, you wouldn't want to do a full assault. Your game as a creature of the night is to be a creature of the night and kill a little bit. If you kill a lot... Well, anyway, Holly is one of those flexible-minded people who manages somehow to stake the vampire and get out of there. And she signs up for Monster Hunters. She's a good character. I like the buddy Trip. He's pretty good. The characters, I like all the characters. I want to read you some of the dialogue so you can get a sense of this. The dialogue's fun, and this is his first novel. So you have Agent Franks, who is sitting there with a gun pointed at Pitt in the hospital, ready to kill him the moment he starts to grow whiskers, I guess. And so Harbinger comes in. Harbinger is another great character. Man of average height and lean, with short-cropped sandy blonde hair, probably in his mid-40s, with no really remarkable features. He's not a memorable-looking guy, but emanated an old-school toughness when he strutted into the room, an attitude like a Bogart or a Cagney from the golden age of movies. A cigarette hung lazily from the corner of his mouth in clear violation of hospital rules. Myers grimaced and looked like Franks gave some serious thought about pointing his gun at somebody else for a change. Well, if it ain't the Junior Danger Rangers, how's the murdering witnesses business? The man asked. Reaching into the pocket of his leather bomber jacket and pulling out a business card, he stuck the card into the edge of my wrist cast. It stuck there, vibrating slightly. Screw you, Harbinger, Frank said. Situation's under control, no need for you here, the professor stated in a cold voice. I'll be ice skating in hell before I believe that you federal weasels have anything under control. I don't know, I think that's fun.
It's like one of the Dirty Harry movies, where the rebel cop, with the cop with an attitude has to, trade words with the stodgy
Dirty Harbinger.
Yeah.
That's the way you wish you could talk to the authorities, isn't it?
If you're Earl Harbinger, you damn sure can.
Should we reveal anything about Earl Harbinger?
My wife got a traffic ticket this morning, and I talked to her on the phone, and I said, well, what, speeding? What's going on? She's never had a ticket. She said, no. She said she was pulling up to a stoplight, and it turned yellow, and she said, I thought, do I go or do I slam on the brakes? And she said, I went for it. And she said, I crossed the intersection. It hadn't turned red yet. Cop pulled her over and said, you ran a red light. And she said to him, I did not run a red light. It was certainly yellow. I thought about it and then made the choice when it was yellow and was worried about it. And as I went under the light, it was yellow. And I was like, Charity, why did you fucking say anything at all? You say, yep, and we'll just pay it. You don't say anything to those people. You just pay the ticket.
So she's going to fight it?
No, she's not going to do that because this is in Tulsa. We don't even want to go to town and hang out downtown and blow a day or whatever. But she contradicted the guy. And I wouldn't. I'd just be like, I had a cop pull me over one time and he was like kind of lecturing me about it. And I was like, would you just write me a ticket? And I should have said that. Mm-hmm. No, he wrote me a ticket, but I'm lucky he didn't just beat the shit out of me, Yeah, so we can't talk like...
So the feds in this book are kind of the bad guys, although they are necessary, and Franks, in fact, is very cool at the end. Like, you probably need feds.
They're fettered by being feds, and so they can't be as effective as the freelance guys are.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really write them as bumbling. Like, they're very proficient at being feds. But the thing here is to kill the vampire. That's the thing. And because of, bureaucracy and all those kinds of things.
One of the points Correia has his characters make at the end, when they're in the swamp, the federal troops are fighting as if they're going to be fighting humans, and they're really good at fighting humans. They're not so good at fighting vampires or alien cricket things or whatever else shows up. Where the monster hunters, because they're freelancers and their whole focus is on flexibility, they can shift. They might not know how to fight a particular monster, but they'll figure it out.
Yeah, they don't have an SOP, and they hired a few of the best people. They hire because of that mental flexibility. It's interesting. Like, he's got this. He definitely has this sort of libertarian sensibility, doesn't he? Like, if the financial incentives are there, then people will crop up that will kill the monsters. And
yeah, I was wondering if that would turn you off.
No, I believe that financial incentives can work, but they also might lead to some evil guy that at Monster Soft to create a vampire farm. So he could come up with vampire ears to go down to the game warden's office and collect more puff money. Like, you never know where the incentives are going to go. A guy named William Hates at Monstersoft might create a monster that requires medicine. I don't know. Like, shit happens, when there are financial incentives that you can't quite be sure of.
Yeah. Yeah. William hates.
at Monsters.
I see what you did there.
Partner Mel hates. I hear the partnerships on the rocks. Trouble in hell.
I'm just going to let all that go by. I think it is also a fantastic love story written by, and it's autobiographical too. He was getting married at the time, or had recently gotten married, this big lug from a California dairy farm. They'd lost their, he's got this on his website, but he grew up on a dairy farm in California, and then they lost the farm, and he ended up in Utah, went to school there, and this girl, he came back from break or something, and there's this girl in the house where they're living, and she says, "Larry, it's good to see you again." And he'd never seen her before in his life.
Did he put a stake through her
And
heart?
it turns out she was just messing with him.
That's funny.
And proposed a week later.
Yeah. So Larry, I'm going to call him Larry because his last name gives me trouble. 3-gun competitor, very good apparently, very good. And big old guy, like you just see in the pictures of him, like he's not to scale. He'll be at conventions, you'll see pictures, and everybody comes up to his shoulder. And Owen Pitt is this big guy who's good with the guns, who is skilled in the ways of the world. He's an accountant, in Correia has that, and this is written from first person. And in Owen Pitt, the protagonist, is a little hard on himself. He thinks he's clumsy, he thinks he's ugly. Dudes that shoot this well, and I've been around some of them, aren't clumsy. They might be ugly. But he sees himself as this clumsy, ugly guy, and he's scarred up. He had been a bare knuckles boxer, underground fighter, whatever, earlier in his life. Owen had, and he was all scarred up and disfigured. And I don't know. I don't want to psychologize Correia much, but I think there's a Correia there. So 3-gun competitors will compete with a long rifle. Most of the time, they'll shoot a .223 for distance, right? And then shotguns, and then pistols. They shoot like a .38 Super or 9mm or something like that pistol, and they do it for accuracy and speed.
Sounds fun. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty thinly. I mean, if you knew him, you'd say, Larry, that this book is about your life, right?
Yeah.
But it's really well done. And if you keep reading his books, see, this is his first try, and I think it's pretty good. But he does get better. He definitely gets better. The characters aren't all him later.
Yeah, he does a good job. This is his first book. Karl's like, hey, let's read something fun for next week. How about Monster Hunters Inc.? And I'm Monster Hunter International. I'm like, okay. So I'm stupid. I've been doing this with you for over a year. I'm stupid. I get the book. It comes in. It's 713 pages.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Is it? I read it on Kindle. I have no idea.
713 pages.
Yeah, but it's Baen Press. It's like, 18 type.
No, it's not. It's 12, 11. But he throws a lot of balls up in the air in the first 4 chapters. In the first 50 pages, he throws a lot of balls up in the air, and he keeps them in the air, and then he puts a bow on it at the end of the book. Like I've read too many books. I'm like, I don't know how this guy is going to tie this all together and not make it stupid. Because that can happen in this kind of a book, and he does a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, it all works out. Everything that happens in the beginning is tied up in the end. I want to talk about the girl. So Harbinger knocks on the door. So he goes home, and he's hurt, and has to recover for a while. Gets a knock at the door. Who's there? Earl Harbinger. We met at the hospital. What do you want? I need help with my taxes. What do you think I want? Which I love. He opens the door. Harbinger had brought a friend. She was beautiful. In fact, she was possibly the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She was tall, with dark black hair, light skin, and big brown eyes. Her face was beautiful, not fake beautiful like a model or an actress, because she was obviously a real person, but rather Helen of Troy, launch 1,000 ships kind of good-looking. She wore glasses, and I was a sucker for a girl in corrective eyewear. Since I was ugly, it was probably some sort of subconscious reaction in hope that I might have a chance with a cute girl who couldn't see very well. She was dressed in a conservative business suit, but unlike most women I knew, she made it look good. If I were to guess, I would have said she was in her mid-20s. Mr. Pitt, she asked. Even her voice was pretty. She was a goddess. I tried to answer, but no words would come out. Talk, idiot. Hi. Smooth. So far, so good. Keep going, big guy. You can, my name is Owen. My friends call me Z because of my middle name. It starts with a Z. Or whatever works for you. Come in, please. So much for smooth. She smiled and held out her hand. Julie Shackelford, pleased to meet you. Her grip was strong. With surprisingly calloused, working hands, her handshake sent a message that she was no wimp. Had I found the perfect woman? Yes, he has.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
She's a sniper. She's the one that rides in the helicopter and shoots I forget which rifle. There's a whole lot of gun details in this book. But it's a good love story, goes all the way through to the end. But what he likes about her is not that she's pretty, although she is. What he likes about her is that she's real, that she's competent, that she kills monsters.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good basis for a marriage.
Yeah, I agree. So when did you see Melissa the first time?
At a party. At Marquette many, many years ago.
And was she carrying a gun?
No, she was not.
What did you think?
Well...
Is this getting too personal?
Well, I like that she was smart.
You couldn't see that.
I found it out pretty quick.
Did you carry a standardized test with you or something? Like, how did we find this out?
I don't know. She might have bragged about her straight A's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she never got a B till grad school, and then she didn't tell me.
Right.
I heard about all the straight A's. I never heard about the B.
She's keeping secrets.
Yeah.
Betrayal. Yeah,
I mean, this cute little 5'2" in the periwinkle jumper at the 70s dance party. But that's not enough. I mean, that's a lot.
Get you going, because like I said, you don't carry a standardized test. You gotta get somewhere. You gotta get somewhere quick.
Yeah.
Because she did a hard pass on a bunch of chicks at that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't have calloused hands.
Okay.
But she was smart. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Wanted somebody interesting.
Yeah, you got that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She's not going to hear this.
She listens to every show.
No, not this one. I'll tell her not to listen to this one. You can trust me.
My wife does not shoot a sniper rifle.
Yet.
Unfortunately.
Yet.
Maybe someday. We'll work on that.
Yes. So I asked you that question, and I thought about myself. I don't remember the first time I saw Charity. I was probably 5 years old. I don't remember. How about that?
Well, she's not going to listen to this either.
No, that's true. That is a fact. Yeah, I don't remember. But she's pretty hot. I got a thing for those engines, those dark-eyed girls. Yeah.
I like their relationship and that she's competent. This is what attracts him.
Charity was terribly competent. Terribly competent. I have a bunch of the stories that I probably shouldn't tell, but I will tell one. She and I had been dating a little bit. I may have told you this. I don't know. Doesn't matter. She had been dating some. We were, 17 years old. And we were in line at the concession stand to get something to eat at school. So at our little crappy school, they had a cafeteria they opened, and then they would also open the concession stand by the athletic facilities, and you could go in there and get like a Frito pie or some garbage, or you could go through the school lunch thing and get that kind of garbage. Well, we were in the concession stand, and this kid named Joey butted in line in front of us. And I tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around, and I was going to tell him, hey, listen, you need to beat it. And when he turned around, she punched him right in the face. Like reared back and just smoked him, hit him as hard as she could fucking hit him.
And that sealed the deal?
It wasn't bad, but here's the bad thing about Hamburger's girlfriend do his dirty work. She smashed him before I could even utter. So that was all right. I think she had a cheerleading uniform on too. Yeah, she smoked him down, man. Yeah.
That'll be in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, Hambrick has to have his girlfriend do all of his work. Ooh, where's your girlfriend now, Hambrick? Now, that causes me trouble. But it's fine.
I'm going to pause some of my highlights here. So they watch the DVD on Monsters. Monsters Are Real. Julie pulls out a DVD and he's like, I did okay in the fight. And she says, you just did okay, huh? Looks to me like you put up an amazing fight. Oh, it's a DVD from the security camera. Yeah. You could have given up a bunch of times. You'd be surprised. Most people faced with something out of their nightmares will just freeze up. Their brains can't begin to process what they're seeing, and by then it's too late. And next thing you know, something from the great beyond is flossing with their spine. Hunters don't freeze. Hunters fight. I really like that. I mean, they talk some in this book about normal people versus the hunter types. And the situation might not be what you think it is. The stories that you've heard might not be right. What are you going to do?
Oh,
Will you freeze up?
You're just a conspiracy theorist.
I haven't even uttered any conspiracies.
No, but
not one. Not today. Not today. I was telling somebody at the gym one of the things that I believe to be true, and then I looked it up on the internet, and I told him, yeah, and this one's actually true too.
Right.
And he's laughing at me. He's like,
they're all true.
You didn't think it was true before? Well, let's say, I have a tendency to go to the conspiracy, and you have to know that, and you have to back off a little bit and have enough distance to say, now, am I just believing this because I found it somewhere off in the internet and I like to think that it's true, or is it actually true? So I'm looking for corroborating evidence, and it turns out to be true. So he was laughing at me. It's all right, I'll get him back. So we find out more about the character. His dad's Medal of Honor winner, has been training him since he's a kid. Looks like he's going to be a perfect hunter. So Julie says this to him on the next page. Look, Owen, you're not a normal person. None of us are normal either. MHI is a family business. My family. My great-great-granddad founded the company. 5 generations of hunters. You haven't seen weird till you've met my family, so don't feel bad. Julie patted my knee. She touched me. I perked right up. And just little things like that. It's like, this is not, they met and then they had a torrid affair. Right. It's like, he's just, all of his senses are alive at the presence of this other human. Which is kind of how it happens.
Seems like it.
We're not looking for normal people. Normal people scream and run and get eaten. You have to be a little different to do the kind of stuff that we do. As Julie said this, I realized I had in fact met the woman of my dreams, attractive, smart, and a shooter. Wow. It's fun. But of course, she's got a boyfriend.
Well, what's that got to do with me?
Commander size 1911, bear slide and frame, match barrel, Heine night sights, thin aluma grips, bobtail conversion to the frame, all grinder tools, steel parts, trigger and action job. It's a good shooter. I've carried this one for a year now. A pistol that she has. And so he tries it and he tests the trigger. I did most of it myself, Julie said with obvious pride. Will you marry me? I blurted.
It's ridiculous. Stupid gun porn. But it's fun.
So if you get to some of the story. So they go and they train, and he's going to learn how to be a hunter. He has to go down to, somewhere in Alabama. And meet the other hunters. The receptionist is Dorcas. She's got a wooden leg. She doesn't hunt anymore. If you eat her brownies, she'll disembowel you. You've got Milo, the tech guy, the Mormon, the big red beard, who makes really, really big fancy guns, like an automatic shotgun.
Yeah.
12 shotgun shells out in like 5 seconds.
So silly.
You didn't like that gun?
Oh, I did. Yeah, it's Saiga, S-A-I-G-A, makes this shotgun based on an AK-47 frame, and he takes one of those and messes with it, puts a 20-round magazine on it. It can be semi-full or semi or full auto. Yeah.
It's like, what? How many gun laws does this break? All of them.
Right. Oh, and it has a silver bayonet.
Mm-hmm. You need silver.
Got to have silver.
Silver's good against some of the undead. Then their first encounter, there is a ship at sea that they have to go work at it. Oh, I want to read another one of my favorite quotes. At location 1243. Let me see if I can get page numbers on here. Darn it, Swindle. What chapter am I in?
Your Shamazon swindle.
This is, sawing off a human head is harder than it looks. I'm quoting from the book. You write books like this so you can write lines like that. The thing is, if you ever get bit by a vampire, well, that means it's in you. And that means that when you die, you're going to arise as a vampire. So you need your friends to do a job for you.
Right.
You know, you got to have someone do it. You got to know how to do it. In fact, because the only way to kill vampires is to chop their heads off or stake them through the heart. Damn it, Pitt, don't saw this ain't gardening, it's killing, chop it, Sam shouted at me. Sam always shouted. Sam is another one of the characters. I'm not sure if the dear listener is going to figure out why this is so great to me. I love the dialogue. I love the action. Tell them why they should like it.
Well, because it's a great deal of fun. It's all plausible. You know, like a lot of times you read this stuff and it all requires a suspension of belief, you know? It all requires a little bit of that. And that's okay, right? It's fantasy or whatever the hell it is. I don't know exactly what this thing is. But it's done so well that he makes it easy for you to go along with him. I didn't have to swallow any stupid premises to be with him on it. And all the characters are likable. They all exhibit some sort of virtues. Like even the cursed one.
Lord Machado.
He carries around the bones of his dead lover for 500 years. And we're told that he has to partake in this kind of love for him to obtain this power. But then when this love is reanimated and he's betrayed by her, he's genuinely hurt. Like in that moment, in the dialogue, he couldn't believe it. Even in that moment, I was like, oh, he didn't, talk himself into being into this Incan princess or priestess or whatever she was. He genuinely loved her and toted her bones around for 500 years so that they could be reanimated and rule everything together. So even as evil and terrible as he was, even he had some redeemable qualities, I thought.
Yeah. When you have the bad guys, you understand their motives. You're like, I could do that.
Planning to.
That could have been me.
Oh.
You could have slipped into it. So it's good writing. It's good writing when your evil characters aren't just nameless evil, but understandable evil.
Like evil, again, that problem of evil. Understanding evil is one of my biggest problems. Like, why does this kind of stuff happen? How? What purpose does this serve? Okay, maybe there is no purpose. Like, all of those problems. I sent you and Melissa a screen cap of a news website last night. You didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm. I saw it.
But you didn't say anything about it. Listen to this. Oh, maybe I shouldn't even read it. It is a news website. Police release photo of murdered so-and-so Julia James in the clothes she was last seen in, blah, blah, blah. As it's revealed, Prowler offered to pay child for pictures down secluded lane day after her killing. Brent Cross stabbing victim, 21, was killed in bloodbath. I mean, it's like you just scroll down and scroll down and scroll down, and it's just craziness after craziness. And I think all of us wonder why or how or all those things. This book, for me, let me ask that and get an answer and have fun with it for at least a minute, at least 713 pages of it. Huh?
What answer did you get?
Well, in his hopeful world, the evil was rational. Like the evil acted consistently according to its own lights, whether I agreed with that or not.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't random. That's a comfort to me. And that there was something that his people could do about it. There was something Pitt and the gang could do about it. And at least once in the book, Milo confronts an evil figure with just faith.
Mm-hmm.
and destroys it and lives.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and so he manages to do all that, and it's fun. Like if you can paint a hopeful picture amidst the darkness, kind of stuff like that, and it's still fun, that's a unique talent.
So I was thinking, there's this quote: "We don't read fairy tales to tell us that there are monsters. We read them to know that monsters can be beaten."
Yeah.
It's a bit of a misquote of Chesterton, but it's good. It's well-intentioned. We know there's monsters. Absolutely, we know that. You can just read the paper and see that. The stories give you a kind of a hope that somebody can win. And I'm not sure how that works because it's fiction, you know?
Well, what's fiction for?
Entertainment, I suppose.
I mean, is it? I mean, that's one of the things it's for, I'd say.
I think it's to give you stories, but the stories give you possibilities of action.
Yeah, the stories illustrate potential outcomes, yet possibilities for action.
Yeah, and what I mean by that is, so you've read stories of heroes who stand at like Horatio on the bridge defending the city against the Gauls or something. And then you're stuck in some situation. And that Horatio did this in the story raises the possibility for you that you can do it.
Right.
Or even in the love story, the charming love story between Owen and Julia, even though her mom's a vampire, spoiler, it gives you a possibility for your own love life, for your own romance, that it could be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Bad stories will give you bad possibilities of behavior.
Oh my gosh. Are we going to have to read Twilight?
There are lots of people waiting for you to read Twilight publicly.
I have theories about Twilight.
Is there anything you don't have theories about?
No.
No, I love the boyfriend Grant, he's a college boy, he's like Harvard or something, and he's handsome and smart, and you just hate him without really having a reason to.
Well, here's why you hate him, is because you don't have any reason not to. Like in a book where everybody's got all this neat stuff going on, whether you're Owen and you're a great shooter and you have this enormous will, or you're Julia where you're calm and collected and a great leader, or you're Earl where you're mysterious and a great leader and whatever, or even the Cursed One, you at least want to know what happens to the guy. There's nothing about Grant that pulls you in. You don't even care what happens. Like he's in harm's way at some point, and you're like, okay, well, we'll see where this goes. Like, you don't worry about it. I found my heart rate going up at certain places in this book and worrying about these characters. I never once worried about that guy. There's just, he's, which is an interesting thing. I've never written a book like this, but I wonder, does the author say, okay, well, I'm going to have, like, there are bad guys in this book. Like, clearly there are bad guys. So Grant is a less bad guy. So how do you depict a less bad guy? Well, here he kind of feathered the prop a little bit. He could have said, well, he carried around a picture of a naked baby in his wallet, and everybody hated him because he's a pedophile. Well, but he didn't have to go all in on that. He just painted him as less redeemable and didn't give us a reason to love him, I think.
He's a little petty, he's a little snarky.
But, he's not in that, snarky, quippy, shitty dialogue that he exchanges with everybody. He's no worse than what Owen Pitt does, because Pitt's a smart ass and so on, too.
Yeah, but what Grant does when he's in authority, he does things like, for me, location 1434 in Kindle. Pay attention, Grant snapped at me. Milo rolled his eyes again. I snickered. Grant stormed toward us like a bulldog. Pitt, I don't like your attitude. Trust me, Grant, it's mutual. What did you say? So like going up and saying, I don't like your attitude when you're in authority over other people. How does that work out well?
Yeah, I hear you.
Just little bits like that you can see that he's fundamentally unsound.
Yeah, but is that enough to make you not want, not care if a vampire snarfs him up?
Well, I didn't want the vampire to eat him.
I did. I wanted the vampire. Here's what I wanted. I wanted the vampire to eat him die, him come back as a vampire, and then Pitt kill him. And then him be reanimated, then him kill him again. Like, if he could kill him a half a dozen times, that would have been better.
Larry, are you listening?
I thought that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, well, sorry. It surprised you. When they go on the trip to the ship, and they're fighting the vampires on the ship, it turns out that when Owen is trapped in the ship, that Grant looks down, sees him down the ladder, says, "Sorry," and closes the hatch.
I'm out.
And doesn't save him. So a little bit of cowardice there, and letting your buddy get eaten by vampires.
Yeah.
Fundamentally unsound. But of course, how could he be blamed for that? He thought that it was a lost cause.
Sometimes we have to make these hard calls as leaders, Carl.
Yeah, but sometimes you're just a chicken.
Yeah.
I love all the gun stuff. The others were armed with Heckler and Koch. I don't know how to pronounce that. Heckler and Koch 45 subguns. I wasn't particularly impressed with the guns and thought the whole German engineering thing was really overrated. There's all these little... You can imagine he's been writing on gun forums on the early internet in the 90s. And everything he's written probably ends up in this book. Like somebody was irrationally attached to Glocks. That's one of them in there.
Yeah, all these guys are irrationally attached to 1911 frame guns, too. Yeah. It's okay.
There's a lot of 1911s. Julie saves his life with a fantastic headshot. Right as the creature is eating him, she's up in the helicopter and shoots it. I don't know. The action scenes are thrilling. In all of the Correia books that I've read, the action really does make you sit up and your heart pounds a bit.
Yeah, if you read a book and your heart rate goes up, they're doing a good job with their prose. Yeah, because he's writing this fantasy. What is this book? What is this? What are we going to call it?
I guess it's fantasy.
Because he's writing this fantasy, he has some tools at his disposal that the regular author wouldn't. Like, he gets to kill the good guy a couple times. Well, most of the time, you read, let's say you're going to read like an Ed McBain detective novel. The main character's not going to get killed. Like, they've got a book to do, I mean, what are you going to do? But he gets to kill the main character a couple of times.
They all get wiped out in the swamp.
Yeah, everybody gets killed at least once.
And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Even the second time I read it. Oh, gosh, I guess they're all dead. Even though I read this and know they're not. But here they are. I like... so as he's killing one of the French vampires, Owen throws in like a Schwarzenegger line and says, "Parlez-vous, mother effer." I'm editing out the effer because...
Melissa may listen.
Yeah.
When does she listen, by the way? When does your wife listen?
When she's out walking.
I listen to every show I do.
Yeah, I can't. I don't usually.
I do it so that I do it in an attempt to not tell the same stories over and over again. So imagine how often I would tell him if I didn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
Once I say it, it's gone. And I don't want to think about what I said again.
Yeah.
In case I said something stupid.
Oh.
So he says this little catchphrase. And then Julie catches up to him and she spoke softly in my ear. "Parlez-vous, mother effer?" It sounded good at the time. "If we don't die in the next few minutes, are you doing anything for dinner tonight?" He's like, she's calling him on his stupid catchphrase. There's another thing about all the fighting. So you have to understand this. When you do a war movie, and you can say, and it's probably true, war is hell and it's horrible and all of that. But these people that do this sort of thing, there's an extent to which they love it. So he says a little bit after that, "I'd pulled something in my leg in the struggle with the vampire. My head and chest ached from my early adventure in the water. My stomach and throat hurt from all the heaving. My nerves tingled with adrenaline and terror-induced endorphins. I was still seeing purple ghosts in one semi-blinded eye, and I was covered in vampire juices. I was having a great time and had never felt more alive."
Yep.
That's good writing right there. The contrast. You think it's going one way and it goes the other. And yet it's a completely true way that it goes.
Yeah. They're out there.
What, vampires?
Folks that enjoy that stuff.
Yeah, I can't give you enough of the flavor of the prose in here. It's just...
Yeah, snappy talk.
He's got the vampire in front of him. Stay back! I waved my grenade in front of me. A pound of high explosives was my holy symbol. It's just snappy. It's well done. Well, should we get more of the story?
Sure.
Should we tell him the story?
Yeah, what have we left out?
Well, we haven't told him the big story. So there's the cursed one who's made the deal with this artifact that's going to give him ultimate power, and he's going to use it to raise up his dead girlfriend and probably end the world. And it's going to be a gateway for the old ones who are
old
gods or something just waiting to come in. They can't get into our universe, but unless they have
Cthulhu crustacean monsters.
Yeah, so that's real cool.
Unimaginably big. A couple of people have peered through the rift and seen them, and they are beyond a scale that humans can figure out.
Yeah, so they had this Christmas party at the Monster Hunter International back in 1995.
The 100th year anniversary, you know.
Yeah, and Ray Shackelford, was it the second or the third?
The third or fourth.
It's the Shackelford family that runs MHI. His wife had died, and he wants to get her back. And so he goes to the Christmas party and does some black magic because he's a genius and has figured it out. And he opens up a portal, and he's trying to get his wife back. Turns out he can't because she's a vampire, but he doesn't know that at the time. So all of these demons bust through, and they kill 73 of the hunters, and the hunters get shut down for years by the feds. Harbinger jumps in the rift and fights them off.
They're grounded for opening the hellmouth, essentially.
Yeah, but then they see this eyeball show up. Like the pupil of the eyeball starts to get close. It's this huge rift, and you're just seeing the eye showing up. It's kind of creepy.
Not good.
And they managed to close the rift. It was bad. These are the things that want to come through. And they're going to use the cursed one to get through. And so the cursed one is one of those Machado. Every 500 years, there is born a human who can control the artifact that the old ones have managed to put in the world. This is the MacGuffin for the story.
What's a MacGuffin?
A MacGuffin is the thing that you're chasing after.
The Maltese Falcon, the One Ring, the Holy Grail. Like, does the cup matter? Yeah. Like, come on. Does the cup matter? It's the MacGuffin.
It's an Alfred Hitchcock term. So whenever you write a movie script, you need a MacGuffin. What does everybody care about? And it doesn't even matter what it is. There has to be something that they all care about. The sacred pencil of doom.
I don't want that thing.
I've lost the sacred pencil of doom. Well, we need to find it. Where'd you see it last? Well, I had it on the airplane. Oh, no. On the airplane. You know, it just drives the plot now that you know what the MacGuffin is. Well, it might be that it's been 500 years since Machado. That means we're due for another human who can handle the artifact. And guess who it is?
One Mr. Pitt.
Yeah, Owen Zastava Pitt turns out to be the chosen one.
But like Luke Skywalker, see, I don't know, actually, but if he handles it wrong, then he himself could be turned. He's invited by the bad guys to make certain choices with his will and his abilities and to join them. And he could, and think about this, like he's got this hot girlfriend, this object of his desires, this Julie. And at some point he is offered everything. And like, you can, not only can you have everything, but we'll fix her all up and you'll both live forever together with everything.
Mm-hmm. Pretty tempting. So there's danger at the end and you're not sure what he's going to choose, even though you know it's probably going to end well because of the, I don't know, the cover art. You figure it's going to end well.
Stupid cover art.
But, it might not. So he's got to make the right choices and has to be the right sort of person to do it. So, this is something that I like about, I have read a fair amount of Dean Koontz novels. You can never catch up with him because he writes 4 books a year.
He can write them faster than you can read them.
Yeah. Well, I've got an infinity pile. Dean, take a vacation. But his good guys are good. And they act with good motives, and they choose the right thing. And I like stories that have them do that. The anti-heroes in stories don't give you the good... we were talking about having good stories as a story of action. They don't give you that. Holden Caulfield does not give you good possibilities of action. Neither does Michael Corleone.
Right. Yeah, entire realms of action are foreclosed for Holden. He's not able to choose the good because he can't even conceive of it. It never crosses his mind.
So Owen does the right thing, although he thinks about it, but he does the right thing. It's a good-hearted story about a good-hearted hero. Did you like the Elves?
Apparently, I know some.
There are elves. Because monsters are real, so are elves.
Yeah, they're told, we need to go talk to the elf queen. She's got the answers. So they go to the trailer park. And
Well, no. They have to go to the Enchanted Forest.
Which is the Enchanted Forest, motor court or whatever. And they're trailer dwellers. The way I pictured them, the way he paints them, is like the guys kind of look like Lucky from King of the Hill.
Only with pointed ears.
Yeah, but with pointed ears. Yeah. It's funny.
The elf queen is very large.
And they're watching professional wrestling when he shows up, and it's crazy.
She is Queen Ilrondelia, ruler of the elves of the Enchanted Forest. And they say, Milo says, Your Majesty, we've come to ask for your wisdom. We seek knowledge. And she says, I don't do spells no more. I'm on disability. I done hurt my back. Got me a check from the government. Says I can't do spells no more.
Gosh. So that's what Southern Alabama elves sound like. You just nailed it.
But she is the queen of the elves, and she does have mystic knowledge. But it's like, you have to, okay, if you are a reader of fantasy novels, as I am, as Larry Correia is, or was in his childhood, you run into a whole bunch of elves. Tolkien elves are one thing. Tolkien elves are like nature spirits or something. They're mystical and scary and a bit dangerous. But everybody after him, like, I need to have a race of skinny, pointy-eared people that do magic. And if you've played Dungeons and Dragons, there's particular people that are always going to pick an elf character.
Your daughter. Does she always pick elves?
Which one?
That one daughter. You know that one.
So we were playing a game. What are their characters? Oh, I can't remember what Elizabeth is. Sarah is some kind of halfling bard.
Okay, I figured she'd be an elf.
And Grace is a half-orc barbarian.
Yeah.
She speaks in monosyllables. We need to start that game up again. So this is just a wonderful takedown. Yeah, I'm going to have elves in my fantasy, but they're going to be trailer park elves.
And they are.
Just wait till you read further in the series and you meet the trolls.
That's great.
Who are actually trolls.
Didn't they seem like Chechens or something?
What, the elves?
No, the orcs.
Yes. They're from Uzbekistan. There's orcs, too. The orcs come off better than the elves.
Yeah.
Tusked humanoids that they were sent to eradicate, but then they found out they weren't bad, so they just gave them a spot in the compound. So they have a colony of orcs living by them. And each orc gets a special talent. And so Skippy can fly the helicopter. And Ed is really good with the dual swords. And Gretchen can heal
wargs
with swamp water. Skippy, Ed, and Gretchen. And they love heavy metal music.
Yeah. So dumb.
It's fun. It's fun. When you read the second book, the trolls are actually internet trolls. They sit on internet fora and write profanities.
I bought a cowboy hat last week, Carl.
I heard.
2 weeks ago. From thecowlot.com. They're great, man. They got this. They send you this guide. This is not a paid endorsement. There's this little paper you download. You can get a little PDF. You print it out, and it tells you how to measure. And you take a soft wire and you put it around your head. And you put it on a white piece of paper, and you take a picture and you send that stuff to them, and they'll custom fit you a hat. And you never even walk. They don't even have a store. And so my hat came in, and it's great. But I follow them on Instagram. They got a great Instagram page if you care about that shit. And they've got a 100% guarantee, customer guarantee. And this guy, they posted a picture of a hat, and this guy says, that's what I wanted my hat to look like. And it came in, and the crown looked terrible, and I don't know what's wrong with you people. And the cow lot said, hey, let us know what your name is. We'll look up your order, and we'll get this fixed up. And he's like, you guys screwed it. And he came back again. He says, you guys screwed this all up. I don't know what's wrong with your company. And I posted under there. I was like, why don't you pick up the phone and call them instead of acting like a little kid who didn't get the right color snow cone? Well, the cow lot, internet trolls, you see. Mm-hmm. So they deleted the whole thread, and they sent me a free baseball cap. They're like, we appreciate you jumping on these trolls. We can't do it. We're helpless against these people. We have to be nice.
Do you think the guy actually ordered a hat from them?
I think he did. I don't know. I'll call the owner and ask him.
You might just be screwing with him.
Yeah, that might have been a guy just screwing with them. But even then, they can't be like, hey, you're screwing with us. Anyway. We have the same philosophy about internet trolls, the cow lot and I.